Hi friends, welcome back. तो भाई डॉक्टर एस जयशंकर, इंडिया यूथ, ब्रेन ड्रेन एंड जियोपॉलिटिक्स। अरे वाह, चलो सुनते हैं। वीडियो शुरू करते हैं। वीडियो शुरू करने से पहले अगर आप चैनल पर नए हो और आपने अभी तक सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो जल्दी से पहले सब्सक्राइब के बटन और बेल आइकन को क्लिक कर लो ताकि आपको हमारे सारे न्यू वीडियोस के नोटिफिकेशन मिल जाएं जैसे हम अपलोड करें।
अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आता है प्लीज लाइक एंड शेयर। चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
What's your message to all the young Virat Kohlis watching this and young Jemima Rodriguez is watching this who'll take the country further?
I'm so glad you used the second name. I think when I watch the women's league, it's like watching a new emerging kind of activity.
You know, Vikings would always invade with the women as well.
Okay, all right.
We need to be Vikings now.
You notice I'm not disputing it. So,
why are you doing this podcast?
I'm doing this podcast, one, because I like you. Huh?
That's right,
That's
ladies and
amazing.
gentlemen.
Ki Jaishankar,
this
he
is
came-
Dr. Jaishankar, the Minister of External Affairs on
कभी सुना है
TRS.
कि external
Possibly the most
affairs
requested
में
episode we've
YouTube
had in the
चैनलों में
longest time
आके
because
ऐसे
we've done
कर रहे
so
होंगे।
much
ये
geopolitical
मोदी जी का
content
plan है
and
कि
this
सबको
legend has
connect
come
करा
up
जाए।
so much on the show that we just had to bring him on TRS. Keep in mind, this is a very short episode. There was a time constraint because of schedules on that particular day. So I couldn't podcast exactly the way I wanted to with Dr. Jaishankar, but it's a beginning. You're going to see an incredible episode of TRS up ahead. Special thanks to MyGov India for making this happen. This is my mid-20s dream to talk to this man, considering how much he's done for the country, considering how he's rewritten the country's branding on a global stage. This was a great icebreaker with the legend. As I said earlier, I was a little nervous to speak to the cabinet ministers, but Dr. Jaishankar made me feel extremely comfortable. That's his actual real life vibe if you're a young, motivated Indian. And that's what this particular episode 1 with Dr. Jaishankar was about. It was about the young, the new, and the motivated India. I hope you enjoy this particular episode. I hope every single young Indian watches this episode because, to be honest, jokes apart, we're living through some intense times and we need to turn to people like Dr. Jaishankar for guidance about the future. So, I'm going to let you slip into the episode. It is a slightly shorter episode. We will come back with a much longer one with Dr. Jaishankar. But for now, enjoy this legendary piece of TRS. Dr. Jaishankar, the most requested podcast possibly that we ever had. How are you and why do you think that is?
Well, I'm good. Been a busy few weeks.
Okay.
But I would say probably people are more interested in foreign policy.
Nowadays.
And maybe they'll come to watch you. So...
I mean, geopolitics is one of those subjects that people have been lapping up only recently, but lapping it up heavily. And you're the poster boy for everything that's happening correct geopolitically for India.
Okay, that's good to know. But in a way, it's natural. Look, what do we do most of the time? You get up in the morning, first thing you do is reach out for your phone, right? And see what is it you missed when you're sleeping. Now, what it's done is it has connected us completely to the world.
Yeah.
And because of the phone, and then you build everything around it, once you start getting used to global content and global comparisons, then, what you eat, what you read, what you think, everything becomes global.
Yeah.
So that's why they call it globalization.
Okay. Simple question for you. Who is Dr. S. Jaishankar the man? Like that people don't know. I'll tell you why. Right now, you're very popular on shorts and reels for your very aggressive comebacks and your very aggressive responses. And in many ways, I feel like Virat Kohli and yourself are the faces of young India in some ways. This is how young India
There's a
thinks.
slight age difference between us.
No, but you're still the guy young India is like cheering for. When we see you up there talking to all these people from other countries, we're like, yep, that's the response that they should get.
Look, uh, I'm a trained diplomat whose general SOP is, play it cool, sort of don't make too many waves, etc. Uh, Now, partly I've transitioned into being a political face, okay? But even I would say the diplomatic side of me, which is still very deep, after all, I've done it for 45 years, maybe more now. Uh, it's like this, I'm very nice to people who are nice to me. When I get pushed, I think it's natural to push back. And one of the things that has been happening to a bit is in the last year and a half, people have been pushing us a bit. So I feel, I mean, it's you brought up Virat Kohli cricket analogy. If you get a few bouncers, you want to do something with it, no?
Hit that pull shot.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say the sentence, when I get pushed, in many ways, your I get pushed is actually when India gets pushed.
Absolutely.
And you are the personification of India on a global scale. Keeping that in mind, I want to ask you why PM Modi said that you have adbhut thoughts.
No, I not. He didn't exactly say adbhut. I think he said वो अंदरूनी हाँ कि उनको बहुत अनुभव है. Look, to be very frank, we had got off a plane. I was myself a little bit zonked getting off the plane. And he was talking about just outside to a group of supporters. And I guess, I didn't ask him after that, okay? I guess what he was really saying is, look, this guy has watched a lot of people come and go. So he's seen a lot. So maybe you should talk to him and ask him what's different.
What's your gauge?
Or what's different?
Yeah, about you?
No, I don't think it was so much what he was talking about me. He was actually saying that, look, guys, talk to him because he will tell you how much, the prime minister's visits have changed, how much foreign policy has changed, how much the country has changed. So it was more his, my thoughts rather than me as a subject that he was talking about. That's my take of it.
I think it's one and the same thing.
Whatever.
Okay. I had Ishant Sharma on the show yesterday.
Oh,
He's a
really?
cricketer.
Okay.
And he spoke about how after a certain point, because you've played so much cricket and you have so many experiences that you've had, your pattern recognition improves. Some people would call pattern recognition intuition or the sixth sense. I am 100% sure that even on a geopolitical scale, there is a role of your sixth sense.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Can you talk a little bit about this? Like a slightly higher level of pattern recognition, or even go one level higher than that? Is there like a spiritual aspect? I mean, I use that word cautiously.
No, look, what happens is this is partly experience, but it's partly also hard work. Any business, we are using a sports, but I would use it in my own line of work. You spend a lot of time reading other players, understanding their game
Motivations.
Their play, how does it work, their mind games which they try on you. So you try to see patterns in other people, in other countries, in other other foreign ministries, etc., just like you do in sports. So in that sense, there's something it's a competitive activity. So if you're going up against a competitor, and I am a very competitive person, okay, I mean, when you ask me that bit, I absolutely let you know. I mean, I try to work out as much of it in sports, but I still have a lot left over for my real business. So if you are a competitive person, all the time your sixth sense, as you call it, is working on one part. I'm listening to you, but if I've seen you do this before, we've talked before, I've prepared by watching you or studying you before, the sixth sense takes over. So sometimes, when you are in a situation, people sometimes ask you saying, oh, did you think about that line before? I didn't. I mean, that sixth sense takes over at that time because you already kind of, it's moving faster than your mind. And it's actually telling you, okay, they're going to hit you with this. So you're already processing it. So you see that coming at you before it actually comes at you. So that's that. I would say it's more like a instinct, right? You call it spirituality. I wouldn't go that far, but
Sure.
there you have. But I just want to round off the earlier point. Hey, you asked me what did PM mean by that? What has changed? I think one part is we're really living under Prime Minister Modi in a different era. I mean, he has been in many ways personally transformational. He's churned the system in a very, very radical way. I mean, I joined the government when another Gujarati was a prime minister, Morarji Desai. Okay, so that's how far back I go. Huh? A lot of people, your listeners would be wondering, okay, what the hell is he even talking about?
No.
Huh?
You're still the poster boy of young India.
But look, it's not often you get people in any line of business, leave alone in something like running a nation. You can have the big thoughts, the strategic ideas, the grand vision. Huh? Very seriously, you have the revolutionary concepts that you chart out, okay, there's a different way of looking at a problem. That's one skill. And then you have going down to the details saying, okay, this needs to be tweaked, that detail needs to be looked at, this problem needs to be fixed. Guys, you haven't done the backup on this. Usually, there are talented people, inspired people who get the big picture. There are people who are very grounded, who kind of go down, drill down. It's very rare to find it in one person. And that, I would say, to me, is a very singular quality of Prime Minister Modi.
Yeah.
And that makes it very, in a way, very interesting to work with him, but it makes it very challenging. Because he can challenge you right up there, he can challenge you right down there,
What's your current challenge?
Look, the world's a tough place right now. We barely come out of this COVID thing. You had this Ukraine conflict and all the consequences which came out of it, energy, food, inflation, fertilizer. If we had not handled it well, we actually, the Indian consumer today, the average person, you and me, it would have actually hit us in our pockets. We would have seen much higher inflation. We'd be paying much more for our oil than we are. So I'm actually looking at the world where everything is coming at me at the same time. There's a health issue coming at me. There's an energy issue coming at me. I have a set of border problems on the border areas with the Chinese. I have the pending, the old problem with the Pakistanis who, have been doing terrorism for so long. And at the same time, I'm growing. My people are traveling abroad. And for me, one big part is how, foreign policy is not a kind of a board game or an academic exercise. It actually affects every person. So in my own mind, it's like, how do I get this foreign policy for you personally, right? How do I secure you when you travel? How do I look after you when you get into problems? How do I make sure if you're a student that you can work on the side and support yourself? Or that, you don't have to wait for 2.5 years for a visa by a foreign embassy. So it's, as I said, I've also learned. It's the small things, it's the big things. You got to get them both right.
अमेजिंग इंटरव्यू जो दिखाई है, पार्ट अभी देखा हमने, काफ़ी अच्छे क्वेश्चंस पूछ के जवाब बड़े ही कमाल के हैं. और ख़ास कर मुझे इसमें जब इनसे क्वेश्चंस पूछते हैं ना, मोदी जी के बारे में जो हमें नहीं पता वो ऐसी ऐसी बातें भी शेयर करते हैं. और बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे थे कि देखो इस टाइम पे जहाँ पे वर्ल्ड में कितनी प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं, इंडिया भी उन प्रॉब्लम्स को झेल रहा है, पर इंडिया ने उतना सफ़र नहीं किया जितना बाकी वर्ल्ड की कंट्रीज़ कर रही हैं, क्योंकि सिचुएशन को हैंडल बड़ा अच्छा किया है. और मैं तो बार-बार ये बताती हूँ कि बहुत ही खुशनसीब है इंडिया कि इस टाइम पर पीएम मोदी जैसे प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे. अगर कोई और प्राइम मिनिस्टर होता, कोई और मतलब गवर्नमेंट होती बीजेपी के अलावा, तो लॉस क्या, मैं कह रही हूँ, आपने पाकिस्तान का हाल देखा है. मैं कड़वा सच बता रही हूँ, पाकिस्तान का हाल देख लिया, श्रीलंका का हाल देख लिया, ऐसा हाल हो सकता था इंडिया का।
बहुत ही मेजर प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती थी। कोविड के समय तो लग रहा था कि पता नहीं इंडिया कैसे हैंडल करेगा। इट इज़ अमेजिंग,
अमेजिंग है जिस वजह से
कितनी
हैंडल
जल्दी
किया।
से हमारी वैक्सीन आई, हमने औरों को भी दी, बहुत तेजी से
कमाल
काम
था
हुआ
वो तो।
ज़बरदस्त रेजिलियंस थी, इंडिपेंडेंस थी, पता लगा इंडिया किसी पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, सब काम खुद करता है। इट वाज अमेजिंग। तो गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत ही अच्छा हैंडल किया था। और बात सही कह रहे हैं, दो बातें थी कि जो भी सक्सेस हो रही है वो हार्ड वर्क से हो रही है, ये ऐसे बैठे बैठे नहीं या स्पिरिचुअल से नहीं। एक्चुअली सिक्स सेंस आती है हार्ड वर्क से। हार्ड वर्क हो रही है, मेहनत हो रही है, और बिकॉज ऑफ इतनी हार्ड वर्क मेहनत हो रही है, इससे सिक्स सेंस वहाँ से जनरेट हो रही है। सारा हार्ड वर्क का है। और एक पीएम है जो पूरी बाहर की पिक्चर भी देख रहे हैं और डीपर भी जा रहे हैं, तो इट्स वेरी नाइस। और ये भी उन्होंने स्पेशली कहा इसमें, और मेरे खुद के लोग हैं जो बाहर भी जा रहे हैं, मतलब वो दिखा रहे हैं कि इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ इंडिया में एक तो लोग इन्फ्लुएंस बढ़ा रहे हैं, लोग इंडिया से बाहर जा रहे हैं, बहुत कुछ ग्रेट काम कर रहे हैं, ये है। दूसरा पीएम अच्छा है, दूसरा मेहनत बहुत कर रहे हैं, तो सारे कॉम्बिनेशन की वजह से सब कुछ ग्रेट हो रहा है। इट्स वेरी नाइस।
बिल्कुल। तो चलो आप भी शेयर करना अपने थॉट्स। चलते हैं, मिलेंगे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में बहुत ही जल्द। टिल देन टेक केयर एंड बाय बाय।
तो अगर आप मेरे इस चैनल पे नए हो तो जल्दी से सब्सक्राइब के बटन को हिट करो और बेल आइकन को क्लिक करो, ताकि आपको मेरा जब नया वीडियो मैं लगाऊं आपको उसके बारे में जल्दी से पता चल जाए।